Donald Trump did a rally in Alabama over the weekend, and he made some comments about NFL players who are protesting police brutality by taking a knee during the national anthem. Let's see what he had to say.
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL when somebody disrespects our flag? To say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out. He's fired. He's fired. You know, some owner's going to do that. He's going to say, that guy that disrespects our flag, he's fired. And that owner, they don't know it. They don't know it. They're friends of mine, many of them. They don't know. They'll be the most popular person for a week. They'll be the most popular person in this country, because that's a total disrespect of our heritage. That's a total disrespect of everything that we stand for, okay? Everything that we stand for.
Wow. Where do I begin with this one? So the first point to make, which is pretty obvious if you're paying attention to the political scene in America, is there are a lot of people on the right who love to pretend like their main issue and all they're really concerned about is defending the principle of free speech and free expression. We can't stand it when the snowflake leftists try to shut us down and take away our free speech rights. I have the right to say the things that I say, even if you disagree with them. So they love to make that argument until they're blue in the face. But you're going to notice something if you're paying attention. They only invoke those arguments when it's somebody they agree with. Only when it's somebody on their team do they defend free speech and free expression. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of a hack. You want to know how you're dealing with somebody principled on those issues? When they spend more time, or just spend some time, defending the right of expression for people who they disagree with. It's so easy to go out there and say, I agree with this person, therefore I will defend them. The real test of whether or not you have a principled belief in free speech and free expression is if you go out there and defend people who you do not agree with. You know, Noam Chomsky made this comment, Voltaire made this comment, others have made this comment, where they say if you don't believe in free speech for the people whose opinions you despise the most, you don't believe in it at all. So, interesting how many of the people who've taken the mantle of, I'm the biggest defender of free speech and free expression, they had nothing to say when Chelsea Manning was disinvited from speaking at Harvard. Funny how that works. They had nothing to say when it's Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. Now, notice, the protest was first brought up about police brutality. That's why Colin Kaepernick took the knee. It was about injustice in America. So, whenever there's a riot, for example, after some unarmed black guy gets killed, the right wing says, and on this one I think justifiably, hey, don't do that. You know, don't do property damage. That's not the right answer. The people whose property you're messing up or breaking or whatever, they didn't do it. So why are you going after them? And they're right when they say that. And obviously, if there's violent reactions where you actually hurt people, that's immoral as well, no question. But then that leaves one more outlet to protest. Nonviolent protest. Colin Kaepernick does nonviolent, silent protest. And you still say, hey, get fired, you son of a bitch. So then at least just be honest with everybody about what you really feel. At least say, no, if somebody's protesting to make a political point that I personally disagree with, then I don't care about their First Amendment rights. Now, technically, they're not saying, hey, let's lock up Colin Kaepernick, so it's not the legal principle of free speech and free expression and the First Amendment that these people are violating, of course. But they are violating the principle of free speech and free expression if you say, hey, somebody should get fired and lose their livelihood because they said something I don't like. And we all know damn well if it's some right-winger who got fired for saying some right-wing shit, well, then they'd all come out of the woodworks and say, oh, free speech, free expression. What are you talking about? Even if you don't agree, you don't take away the guy's livelihood. What are you, crazy? But that's exactly what they're trying to do here. And Trump is the president of the United States. He represents the government of the United States. So this is the government pressuring people in the private sector to fire people when they make a point that he disagrees with. So this guy, he is deeply hostile to the First Amendment. He's deeply hostile to the principle of free speech and free expression. Now, we should dig a little deeper here because it's so ironic when they do the USA chant. It's so ironic. USA, USA. So they would rather have you worship a shitty piece of cloth, and they'd rather have you show deference to a shitty song, and they think that's patriotism. But apparently it's not patriotism to allow people the right of free speech and free expression. See, that's the thing about the far right that's maddening, is it's not about the ideas behind it, it's about the bullshit symbolic aspect of it all. So, yeah, I think loving America is about, showing deference to the flag and loving our national anthem and praying to Jesus. But these are the same people who also supported torture under the Bush administration and now supported under the Trump administration when he kept saying on the campaign trail, we're going to bring back torture, we're going to bring back waterboarding, we're going to bring back worse than waterboarding. So they pretend to be the most patriotic, but they don't believe in due process, they don't believe in habeas corpus, they want to ignore the Eighth Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment and bring back torture, they want to do indefinite detention, they want to keep Guantanamo Bay open, and they want to do illegal offensive wars. So we're the most patriotic, even though we support the Patriot Act, which takes away your constitutional rights, and we're in favor of ripping up the Constitution and shitting on it. So don't look at what our actual beliefs are. Don't look at what our policies are. I love the flag. That's a good piece of cloth right there. And I'm going to show my love of this country by talking about how great that flag is. It's not the flag itself. It's the ideas that it's supposed to represent. It's our highest aspirations. So the flag is supposed to represent, for example, freedom, including the freedom to disrespect the fucking flag. Real patriotism is not loving the flag. Real patriotism is understanding that you live in a country that allows you to desecrate the flag without throwing you in jail or taking away your livelihood. By the way, after Trump did this rant, he doubled down, he tripled down, he went on Twitter and said even more explicitly, like, no, you should be fired if you disrespect our flag. And, of course, as a result of this, it had to happen. There was a backlash where now more people are taking a knee to show solidarity with Colin Kaepernick. If you're the president and you are a direct representative of our government and you're pressuring people and trying to take away their freedoms, the only response is solidarity and to say, you know what, fuck you. Even people who otherwise wouldn't have agreed are saying, you know what, no, fuck you. Because you're exactly wrong. You're going to fucking fire somebody because they disagree with you politically and they're trying to make a statement in a non-violent, peaceful way. Please, man. Another aspect of this that's hilarious is Jeff Sessions next week. He's planning on giving a speech about free speech on college campuses. And you know exactly what he's going to do. I know exactly what he's going to do. This is the faux outrage where they go, oh, left-wingers on college campuses are so hostile to free speech rights. You are Attorney General. Donald Trump is your boss. He just spent this whole past weekend arguing against the principle of free speech and free expression, and now you're going to go the next week and feign support for it, but again, only when the victims are right-wingers. Now, I'm consistent on this. I've defended Milo Yiannopoulos. I've defended Ben Shapiro. I defend guys like Steven Crowder. I defend the right-wing crowd. They want to go to a college campus and speak. I'm not going to deplatform them. Shit, have more people hear their ideas. They're so wrong that I'm not concerned about, oh, it's going to spread like a wildfire. No, a lot of people are going to fucking laugh at them for what they say. So I'm going to argue in defense of those people speaking. Notice, a guy like Jeff Sessions, never. And it's not just left-wingers on college campuses who shut down speech, and they're wrong when they do that. But Anna Kasparian of Young Turks was disinvited from giving a speech at a college campus because some people on the board were Trump supporters, and they were triggered by stuff she had said in the past about Trump supporters. So they disinvited her. Rania Khalek was going to give a speech about Syria. She's a left-wing person of color, and she was disinvited. You go down the list. Anytime there's a pro-Palestinian speaker disinvited, there's been professors who've been fired over pro-Palestinian activism. So, and again, there are plenty of examples of left-wingers shutting down right-wingers, and I'm against it when that happens. But these same people who claim to be the biggest defenders of free speech, they're fucking nowhere to be found for situations like this. And this is not the first time Donald Trump has been hostile to this. Recently, he went on a tweet storm about how, we should make it illegal to burn the flag. There was a First Amendment case over this issue specifically. And even, well-known triggered left-wing snowflake Antonin Scalia said, no, of course you fucking have to allow people to burn the flag. This is the political kind of protest that is specifically protected by the First Amendment. This is dissent 101. Of course you should be allowed to do that. So here you have the President of the United States and his administration and the far right who pretend to be the most in favor of free speech, but Trump argued against basically the perfect example that really exposes your values on this. No, I want to throw you in jail for burning a flag. Trump is a guy who sued Bill Maher because a joke Maher made hurt his feelings. Trump's a guy who threatened to sue The Onion over a satire piece. Trump's the guy who on the campaign trail said, I want to open up our libel laws. Trump's the guy who on the campaign trail said, I want more restrictive speech laws like in England. And you're going to tell me that it's great Donald Trump won because he really is messing up the overly politically correct culture on the left. He is the politically correct culture on the right. If the people on the left are social justice warriors, he's a social injustice warrior. So spare me because you're not principled by any stretch of the imagination. And he also had 5 deferments from Vietnam. You know what Donald Trump is? He's a chicken hawk. He's a guy who says shit like that. People go and fight to defend our flag. So you need to worship it. God damn it. These are brave heroes. And these wars, a good idea we fought these wars. He got 5 deferments from Vietnam. So he's in favor of all the wars. And then he doesn't fight in them. Yeah, I want to send other people to fight in it. You see how this works? Chicken hawk. And then, final point is, the same people who 2 weeks ago were vehemently defending the Confederate flag are now defending the American flag. They don't connect dots, man. They don't use logic. They don't connect dots. You do understand that the Confederate flag is the symbol of traitors. If you say, hey, not worshiping the American flag is bad, you know what would be worse? Flying the fucking Confederate flag, because it is the flag of secessionist traitors who said, I don't want to be part of America anymore. I'm leaving. And then there was a whole Civil War thing that was fought where Lincoln tried to get them to stop fucking doing slavery and continue to be part of the Union. Remember that? So the same people, and fucking NASCAR, the jackasses over at NASCAR, whoever makes the decision at the top of NASCAR, said, if anybody, you're going to be punished if you decide you're going to kneel during the national anthem for us. We don't mess around at NASCAR, man. We're patriotic. Cut to 1,000 pictures of NASCAR drivers or their crews flying the Confederate flag. Do you not understand logic? They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't care. So the same people who vehemently defended the Confederate flag are now defending the American flag, not understanding that defending the Confederate flag is anathema and the antithesis of defending the American flag. Let me fly the flag of traitors, but I'm the most American, man. Donald Trump did more tweets and was more outraged by black athletes doing free expression to protest injustice. He was more mad about that than he was about white supremacist terrorism in Charlottesville. It's funny, he was willing to be super nuanced and over-the-top nuanced to the point where I think it was just incorrect about the protesters who were white nationalists, who held the torches, who chanted stuff like Jews will not replace us and white lives matter. He was saying, well, not everybody who was protesting the taking down of the Robert E. Lee Monument is a bad person. They're very fine people on both sides. But weird, he doesn't say there's very fine people of all the people protesting and taking a knee. Apparently among the people who are protesting and taking a knee, fuck the concern for injustice. That doesn't count. They're disrespecting our flag, so they're all bad. All bad if you do free expression to try to make a better country by protesting injustice. But only some bad if you're holding fucking torches and copying the KKK and chanting Jews will not replace us and white lives matter. He is a bigot. He is a xenophobe. I don't know. If you don't consider him that, then nobody's that. Because everything he does and says proves that. He's also wildly unprincipled, of course, and I just exposed how he's a giant hypocrite when it comes to free speech and the Constitution. But he also is deeply bigoted. And his policies prove that. The things he said over and over proves that. You know, we should ban all Muslims from coming to the country. A total and complete shutdown of Muslims. What is that other than bigotry? I'm going to treat all of them as if they're fucking ISIS members or Al-Qaeda members or jihadists. All Muslims I'm going to treat like that. Women, children, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to treat it. That's what I want to do. That's my ideal policy. He said it. I didn't say it. He said it. The Mexicans, they're coming here. They're criminals. They're rapists. I assume some are good people. Notice how he flipped it. If he were to say, hey, they're good people, some of them are criminals and rapists, well, then nobody could disagree with that because it's factually correct. He flipped it. They're coming here, they're criminals, they're rapists. I assume some are good people. So in other words, the implication is most are criminals and rapists, some are good people, maybe. That's what a fucking bigot says. A guy who doubles down on stop and frisk and says we should do it nationwide, when all the evidence is in, and it overwhelmingly cracks down on minority populations, and 99% of the time, it doesn't yield anything, so you're taking away the Fourth Amendment protection from unreasonable search and seizure for minorities across this country, and he says, I don't care, I support that. What kind of a person supports that? So, the person who loves to pretend he supports the Constitution and the First Amendment totally despises it. He is the triggered snowflake. He is the person who felt the microaggression of the left here when they said, I'm going to take a knee for the national anthem to protest police brutality and injustice. So he is the triggered snowflake. He is the authoritarian social injustice warrior. That's exactly what he is. His actions prove it. And if you're somebody who really deeply cares about free speech as an important political issue, he's the last guy you should support.